Welcome to M&A Unpacked, the weekly show where we bring on experts in MSP M&A, case studies from those who have gone through or are going through the process, and top M&A and business minds to help you get deals done faster and maximize the value of your MSP, whether you're buying, selling, or just trying to improve your business. And I'm joined today by Chris McAree, the CEO of Leaf Tech in Colorado. Chris, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Mike. I appreciate it.
Yeah, tell us about Leaf Tech. I'd love to hear where you started. You guys have kind of grown like crazy over in a short, what looks to me like a short period of time. Um, who is Leaf Tech and what do you guys do?
Yeah, I appreciate that. So, Leaf Tech is kind of the spawn of a second job. So I was working in corporate back in the day, and I needed a little extra income, and I had been in the consulting world, so I started taking on some clients back in 2007, and we were real small. You couldn't even call us an MSP, right? It was just consulting, helping people out, break fix. Started to grow, brought on a business partner in 2008. And we didn't even hire our first employee. We had one contractor up until about 2013. So we were relatively small. We were maybe $400,000 a year between the three or four of us. And then we kind of got into this cloud world, right? Starting in 2013, and things started to change and evolve. We ended up kind of slowly growing up until about 2020. We ended up being about 10, 12 people. And COVID was actually, for us, was a really good thing, and ended up hiring a COO at that point. We brought on a service desk manager, and we kind of exploded. And you know, a lot of things changed with COVID, and a lot of negative things obviously happened out in the world. But from a business perspective, it turned out to be pretty lucrative for Leaf Tech. And here we are today, 2024. It is. I had to look at my calendar, and we're 40 people now. So we quintupled or whatever, or quadrupled, sorry, in about a 4 year period. Um, and we still do a lot of T&M work. It's probably about a third of our business. We do about a third in managed services, and we do about a third in projects. Um, and so we're a little bit different kind of MSP. We're trying to move more to that fully managed recurring model. But some of our clients have not fully adopted it. So we continue to service those clients. But anyway, I have a great team. I have a leadership team. I have a help desk group. I have a service team, projects team. I got a whole administrative team, and it's been a wonderful kind of crazy ride. Never thought I'd be in this seat, right? Like I thought I'd always be sort of this smallish organization. And as it turns out, my business partner didn't want to be part of something bigger. And so he bailed out a couple of years ago and left me holding the bag, good and bad, right? It's all my problem now. So here we are. It's been a little over 2 years. And it's been a bit of a whirlwind, but it's been wonderful. So that's a little bit about us, I guess.
Love it. Is there money that backed you? Like, do you have money in the back, like private equity or investors?
No, it's a great question. I had this conversation with my employee advisory council this morning. They're like, we got to hire all these people and we got to invest in all this technology. And I said, that's all wonderful. But please remember, at the end of the day, it all comes out of Leaf Tech's coffers, what we have today and what we've earned and are going to earn. I don't have angel investors. I don't have private equity. I have a bank loan to get rid of my business partner. That I'm still paying down, a small line of credit that I've never used, and we're a debt-free company outside of that personal loan I had to sign to get rid of the business partner a couple of years ago. But outside of that, it's all what we generate. So no, it's this is sort of a bootstrap. I mean, we're doing well, but I don't have any parachute behind me. We got to make it on our own here.
So can you talk a little bit about where you are financially, your revenue, EBITDA, all that good stuff?
Yeah, so we did 8 million in revenue last year. Net income, EBITDA, sort of the same thing in my world. I think we were right around 20%, 19 or 20%. So we run a pretty healthy company. Um, But again, as I explained earlier, we're slightly different than the newfangled MSP because they come in and everything's that recurring revenue model, and we take on a little bit of everything. So I think it creates a little bit more chaos, but also allows us to drive more revenue and profitability because I actually think time and materials is pretty profitable. Um, but yeah, no, I mean, so that's where we sit. We are doing okay.
Love it. Can you share your percentage? Like what percentage of the business is MSP?
Yeah, so we have about 65 managed service clients right now. We're looking to convert our T&M. So it's a big push right now that anybody that's on T&M, let's get them over to managed service. We support, last I checked, it was 1,400 seats, but I think it's actually closer to 15 to 1,600 managed seats and totals about 3,500 endpoints across all of our clients.
Cool. And I know we talked earlier about how you are doing M&A, and it's a little bit different as well. So I'd love for you to share your journey. You've done 3 deals, if I have that correct.
Yeah, I'd call it three-ish deals. So my first deal fell in my lap about 2 months before my business partner was scheduled to leave. I was introduced to a gentleman that was a partner in another MSP here in Denver, Colorado, and he had three. There were three of them, three partners, equal ownership in the business, right? A third, a third, a third, and they couldn't get along. Um, and I understood that because I had a partner I wasn't getting along with, and we needed to find our way to go. We had to separate ways, and he just wanted out. So my business partner left, and this other guy was like, "I still want to stay in the business, and I'd like to sell you my third." And I looked at that, and I wasn't sitting on a lot of cash, and I didn't have great banking relationships, and all of that's a lot better today than it was then. And I asked him what was the best way that we can make this work, and he wanted employment for himself. He wanted employment for a small portion of his team, 3 people, and he wanted a safe landing place for his clients. And I said, okay, let's work on this. So the way we did it was an asset acquisition based on clients that signed Leaf Tech paperwork. So I didn't buy his business, but we went and met with every single client and said, we're merging our businesses together. We're keeping these resources, and it's happening on this date, whether you like it or not, Mr. or Mrs. Customer, sorry. But they can't get along and they're all going their separate ways. And if you want to continue working with that team and work with a company that I think is better than where you're at, and that was the consensus at the time, I still think it is. We signed up every single one of his clients. All of them came over to a T. And so then I paid him out based on those signatures. So I didn't pay out these giant numbers. I paid him out on month 1 for the signature. I paid out a commission over time on those accounts for keeping them happy. And then I paid a second time a lump sum on the back end. By the time I was done, I think we took on about $500,000 in yearly revenue that we have since grown. And I probably paid out about $150,000 for that acquisition over time. Wasn't upfront, it was over a period of time. Now, he's still being paid out. So if he listens to this, can't be too upset with me. He still works for me, but he's still being paid out every month for being the account manager, VCIO, if you will, on his accounts that he brought to the table. So he's still getting paid a monthly commission for keeping them happy and growing those accounts. So that was the first one. And I think it went pretty well. Now, where we failed as an organization is didn't do enough due diligence. I didn't get the right people involved within my company, like my head of tech services. I didn't bring him into that fold. So when we took them on, there was some, tech debt and some complication and confusion. I knew the numbers were going to work, but it's actually the technology that was a bit of a struggle, getting it all kind of brought together. Um, and then there was the people side. We incorporated 4 people into a group of like 20, 25 people, right? So we in overnight we added 15 20% over additional resource, and now we've got this like cultural thing that we were concerned about, like, are we going to create cliques? Are they going to like each other? Have we introduced everybody to and we didn't do a lot of that. That was on me. It was chaotic. I literally bought my business partner out on April 30th of 22, and I bought their company on May 1st, if you will. I bought those assets on May 1st and onboarded those people. That was a Sunday.
That's a
So
fast
it
turnaround.
was we just did it and made it happen. We still have one of those employees. The other 2 left. The main point of contact, John, still with me. Malia ascended from an ops kind of day-to-day role, and she runs my help desk, and they've been amazing. And the clients they brought were fantastic, and we made it work. But it was chaotic. At the same time, So we'll go on to merger, acquisition, whatever you want to call it. Number two, one of those other business partners couldn't figure out what to do with his book of business. And I got introduced to him because he was a project manager. So he happened to be part owner in the business, but he wasn't a tech. He wasn't an engineer.
Mhm.
And so John introduced me to the other business partner and said, Richard wants to get rid of his clients and doesn't know what to do with them. So we sat down. We decided he would not join the firm and we would sign up all of his clients and we would pay him out. And so we did that. So we signed up all of his clients and I did a one-time payment of about $150,000 for about a $500,000 in revenue. And it worked out pretty well. But we lost the biggest client this year to PE. So PE came in, bought the biggest client that was in his book, which was now my book, and they took it from us. And so you win some, you lose some, right? So the rest of the business is still with us. I'm very happy with them, but we got kind of beat up on that one. That was about, it turned out to be about 20K a month that walked away. It was a big number. Um, but we had them for 19, 20 months and then they disappeared. So I probably got, I probably broke even um, on that one. So then I did another one. That summer, when I did the first one with John and Richard, one of my old mentors came to me and said, I'm part of this 6-person MSP. We each basically have 50-50, and I want to split my 50% away. Will you buy me? This is a guy I looked up to. His name's Mike Fredrickson, wonderful man. And I look up to him, and I've known him for 20 years, and I always wanted to run my business the way he was building it. And then he comes and calls me and says, I want to work for you. And I was like, oh, this is like the craziest situation. He happened to be in the hospital with his wife. She was having some kind of minor surgery, and he thought about me. He's a man of religion, and he said he was praying about it, and he just picked up the phone and called me out of nowhere
Hmm.
and said, "Hey, man, can we work together? I want to bring my business to you." And so we went back to the first model, and we went through every one of his clients, and they're about $1 million in business he brought to the table, and now he's a VCIO account manager out there making sales, and that was very successful. And we paid him out in kind of three ways: upfront, in the middle, and for a renewal on the back end. And then he's getting commissions every month from managing his accounts. Um, I haven't looked at the numbers to be honest. I don't know what I've paid him. It's a significant amount because he brought a bigger book to the table.
Sure.
But we were 100% successful in signing every single one of his clients. That was awesome. And now I should have said we're into our fourth because we are. I forgot. The other half of that company, he's about 64 years old. He wants to retire. So he's called me and he's starting to hand off clients to me one at a time. We're not doing a big bulk batch, but he wants to step out of the business, Mike's old business partner. And so he's been handing over one at a time, and we're doing the exact same methodology, meeting with them, signing them on our paperwork, doing the transition one at a time, and then paying him out 3 times over the course of and he'll be done on the back end. There'll be no ongoing. And he wants to step away from IT. So I forgot, Mike, I'm in the middle of my fourth. What I will tell you that I've never done, it's never been on day one, big check, boom, hand it over, go take over an office, take over their tech stack, take over, their HR and their account. Like I've never gone through that process. That sort of scares me. Like that, just that the complexity is kind of massive and requires probably a team more than myself. But what I've learned throughout this is more due diligence, dig into the numbers a little deeper. I've been asking the last guy a lot more questions than I asked the first three. It's been a lot more staged. I'm almost treating it like a lead gen group on the fourth one, right? He's presenting a client, and he just presented one this morning to me. Said, "Would you like to take over this client? Let's sit down and talk." And he's actually just filling out my form of all the questions I've been having. How many hours are you spending? What software are they on? What hardware do they have? What do the people like to work with over there? Give me some idea about the personalities. And he's building that out in kind of a matrix for me, and he's making the process very easy. We have signed everyone but one of his clients. But I think that's how I've been doing it. Now, where it's been beneficial for me is cash flow, right? I'm getting paid, I can pay out, I'm able to control that. I'm not going out and getting big loans. I'm not bringing in an investor to pay for this. So we're able to bootstrap this in a way that's made sense for the company and for myself personally, my wife as well, right? She's a part of this. The stress level's a little lower than dropping $4 million on a MSP or something like those kind of things. So yeah, that's kind of that story, and it's been quite successful. finding someone who's unable to really run their business the way they want, or they want to get out, or they're struggling with a business partner. It's sort of been companies in, what am I thinking here? Distress, maybe is the best way to put it. They're having some distress. I'm the knight in shining armor. I get to come in and help. And I've been able to keep employees. I've been able to keep clients. I've been able to learn. And it's been a great growth strategy. I mean, we've probably 30–40% growth simply because of these acquisitions over the last 4 years. I mean, and from, yeah, I could probably attribute $2+ million, maybe three, to the set of clients. So you think about an $8 million company, and 40% of it is from acquisition.
That's brilliant. And it sounds like you kind of, I don't want to say stumbled into it, but somebody came to you. You weren't going out looking for this. Do I have that correct?
You're 100% right. It was one of my employees came to me and said, I have a neighbor that runs an MSP. He's having problems and he's looking to sell his business. Would you like to meet him? And I went, sure. And we went down to the corner at 6 o'clock in the morning the next day at McDonald's, had a cup of coffee sitting inside the McDonald's. And this gentleman and I talked through it and decided this is going to work. Let's find a way to make it work. So you're absolutely right. When you say you don't want to call it something, it legitimately has stumbled into it. It had always been an idea of mine, but I didn't know where to start, and I certainly didn't know where to get the money from. And we had to get a little bit creative. And I also had a business partner, if he was sticking around, was going to be part of that equation. And he was very conservative. I'm not going to say anything negative, but he was my parachute to my wanting to grow. You know, if you think about those football players who are running down the field trying to train and they got a parachute on their back, I'm trying to train. He's the parachute. Like, he wanted to slow everything down. I understand. He was in a different place than I was. So once I knew he wanted to leave, it actually opened up a lot of possibilities. So it was very serendipitous at the time.
So the first person that you acquired found you,
Mhm.
or merged with. What about the second and third? Did they find you as well, or did this kind of, and I'm assuming this is all local within your area. You're not expanding, say, into New York from Colorado. You're
Correct.
acquiring folks who are within a driving distance of you. So I'm assuming that it all same thing happened. Maybe people heard about it. Like, how did the next bunch come to you?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first one was the introduction. The second one was the first one introducing me to the second one because it was one of his partners looking to get out and needed a place for those clients to land, or he was going to lose his shirt, right? The second partner with a third of the business was not technical, could not take care of the clients, and needed somewhere for them to go. So I ended up taking on those clients, but he vacated the business, so he moved on. In that scenario, the third business partner actually merged with a different MSP here in town, and now they're a competitor of ours. So the 2/3 came to Leaf Tech, 1/3 went to a different MSP here in town, and yeah, they were all very local. And again, the third one was Mike Frederickson, and he called me from that hospital room, and he's the one who just said, "Hey, I've been," and again, whatever you believe, like, it was a very interesting phone call. I hadn't talked to him in 10 years, and he called me and he said, "Chris, I'm checking you out online. I've seen what you're doing, the awards you're winning, what your company's up to, the clients you have." He's like, I need to come, like, something speaking to me. I need to come and work for you. So let's make this work. It was the strangest but most awesome conversation I've ever had. And I loved Mike Frederickson. I've known him since 2006. He sold me my first phone system in the corporate world, and we just kind of lost touch. Great guy. And he came back to me and said, I want to work for you. And so that's how that happened. And then he brought his business partner after the fact to the table and said, if you're looking to get out, start selling your clients to Chris. We'll take them. And so that's how that went. So actually, both times it's been two companies, but four different business partners within those two companies. It's
Gotcha.
it's
And very interesting. So this
yeah.
is kind of rooted up on its own a bit, and probably they're starting to hear about it. People in the community, because you're doing this within your community, they're starting to hear about it, and you'll probably get more from this as you go. I would assume.
I hope so. We're looking again. Yeah.
Yeah. So what's the plan though? Now that you've done this and you're going to continue to do this, and is that your model? I guess there's a couple of questions here. Is that your model, maybe going after distressed or smaller MSPs? Are you going to grow to bigger ones, different areas? Like what's the next steps?
So it's funny you say that, or ask about it. It is something that we want to do. Um, I feel like we can be a safe landing space for distressed or smaller MSPs that can't quite crack that nut on how to grow. There are levels, right? You get to 10 people, you have a whole bunch of issues. You get to 20 people, you got a whole bunch of issues. We've cracked that. We're at 40. Like 50's on its way. I hired 8 people in the last 60 days. Like there aren't too many MSPs in Denver that I know of that could even think about doing that without having real investment in their back pocket. So we've built a model, I think, that's working. Mike Fredrickson, who was number 3, wants to go and get in his RV and travel the country and live out amongst the people. It's something he wants to do and look for business opportunities. But he also wants to go to regions where he thinks that we can improve the technology and become the MSP of that area. And he wants to talk to other smaller MSPs about merging with LeafTech and growing their division quickly. And that's so he's a big fan of Wyoming and Utah and Montana. And so he wants to get in his RV and travel and go talk to people and see if they're willing to join forces with LeafTech and continue this model because we've proven it can be successful. So he's up in Fort Collins right now, which is, hour and a half north of Denver, and he's starting to talk to people up there and he wants to continue to move north. And that's it. And I think it's a great model for those that want to do it. I've talked to so many small MSPs, they look at us and go, how'd you crack the code? It wasn't easy. It was a lot of hard work. It was a lot of 20-hour days. And we sort of got there. And I think now we've built this machine that can continue to do this and absorb those. Absorbing a 4-person company today would not be like what it was 2 years ago when we did it.
Sure.
We were half the size, right? So I think we have a system and a process. We need to still refine it. We got to get better at it. But I think we have a system and we can make it work. Now, you asked about bigger MSPs. That's a little scarier, right? That's a much bigger commitment. You're getting more people involved, banks and due diligence, and many months of work go into that. The smaller MSPs, if you treat their clients like new clients to you, you just go through the onboarding. That's all we did. We said, you know what? Hey, Mike, you've got these 5 clients. Cool. We'll just onboard all 5 clients as if they're brand new clients to us, as if we went and signed them ourselves. And so we just went through our process, put them on our stack, and just migrated them right over as quickly as we could. Took about 60 days. And in the meantime, he's kind of their point of contact, making sure we understand, how to support these people. But 60 days later, he's got a team that can take care of them. And now he's off looking for more opportunities. So again, this is why this conversation to me is really interesting, because a lot of my buddies in Colorado that are doing acquisition, they are looking at real full-fledged MSPs, 10, 15, 20 people, and trying to make that work. I basically bought that, but over 4 acquisitions. So we kept it smaller and more manageable, bite size.
And remind me again, how many employees, how many clients did you have before your first acquisition? How big were you?
I was probably about 20 people.
20. Well, that's a
20,
big MSP.
it's not small. You're right. And we were probably a $5 million company. So
Okay.
in 2 years, we've added 3 million to the top line. We've grown EBITDA and we've doubled our staff. And you know what? To be honest with you, when we were 20 and 5 million, we probably need to be bigger anyway, but we were just struggling to make those decisions. So we've recently joined TruePeer and the True Methods program. And so we're really working on trying to get the right people in the right seats and eliminate those fuzzy edges, if you will, when it comes to roles and responsibilities and clean all that up. And I think once we get that done, we're going to off to the races again.
Great. Yeah, no better place in the world for you to be than in True Methods Peer. It's one of the secret weapons of growing an MSP. And what I was getting at with that question, so
Yeah.
back up, asking you about where you were in the beginning, because I know I've met MSPs who are thinking of doing something similar, and I want to unpack this a little bit for them. No
Okay.
pun intended for the name of the show here. That's what we do.
Yep.
You, if you were not successful and you acquired another company, 0 times 0 is 0, right? Like when you acquire a company, it should be, say, 1 + 1 = 5, right? It shouldn't be 1 + 1 = negative something.
Correct.
I want to talk to you about that and find out, almost like, what were you doing? What would you recommend for the MSP out there who is thinking, boy, I think I want to do this in my area, and there's a lot of MSPs who are struggling. Where should they be before they do that?
probably in a better place than I was at the time, Mike, I'll be honest with you, because I didn't get to go into this in a as planned and processed a way as I wanted to, because it was presented to me with very short timelines. John came to me and said, I got 30 days to make a decision. All my partners and I, we're going our separate ways. We got to figure this out. So there was it was quite stressful, right? Like we had to make decisions. What I would say is go meet the owner, go sit down, look at the books, look at the ticketing system, look at the metrics, understand what you're walking into, go look at the technology. If you're going to buy the business, I don't have a ton of experience in that. So I would bring in the right people, make sure you get the right lawyers involved and all the right. I mean, that was something I had to learn. I got a lawyer involved in this. He's been wonderful. He's written great paperwork that has been exactly what I needed to do my deals. But if you're going to take on the debt and the assets, that is a whole level I haven't experienced yet. What I allowed these people to do was shut down their businesses and deal with that on the side while I took over the client base. So I took all the good. I got to avoid some of the bad. Um, and those are things I learned. One of the guys, John, got a phone call. Actually, one of his business partners had utilized a piece of software with Dell that nobody knew about, and Dell started calling to ask to get paid. Like it was a $50,000 phone call from Dell. Like you owe us this money. I
Okay.
didn't. I didn't have to pay that. It was not in my name, right? Like that was in someone else's name. But that was just a little Easter egg that popped out of nowhere that one day I get a phone call from a collector saying, well, I heard you bought John's company. Well, I took over the assets. Well, we're going to send you a bill. For what? Well, for this software that, someone else used and I didn't know anything about. Those were sort of eye-opening uh, things that popped out of nowhere, right? It happened a couple times. So those are the things I would warn people about. You need to understand, you really need to dig in and ask a lot of questions. If you find the other side is not being transparent with you, I'd run away. Just run away. Because that means they're hiding something. John was very open. He didn't even know this existed because it was actually one of his other partners who had used the software. Because in their business, that partner was responsible for the thing that software would do. John wasn't. So John didn't even know about it. So it was a surprise out of left field for him. Um, so those are the things I would dig into if you're going to jump in and take over the entire organization. You also have some cultural things to consider, right? Like we were really concerned these four people would come in, not integrate, form their own clique, I don't know, high school stuff, right? Like that kind of thought
Sure.
process, right? And we were concerned about that. So we had to work really hard to make sure we broke that up. We put people within the cube structure very strategically so they'd have to mingle with the right people. And, we brought in breakfast on the first day and everyone introduced themselves and we really tried to break any barriers down. And I think it was pretty successful. Because that was a big one. You want these people to be part of your team immediately. And I will tell you, for the first 6 months, they referred to their old jobs a lot. It got to the point where people didn't even want to hear about it, right? Like it was, well, at this company we did X. Well, we're not that company. We're this company. So this is what we want to do. And so we really had to figure out how to incorporate everybody's personality and the cultures and work through that. So those were some of the challenges. In my world, again, with the asset purchase, I really wanted to know what it was going to take to onboard that client, what they were spending, the technology they were currently using. How do I match that up in the best and most effective way possible? So I was if they were spending 15,000 a month, I came in and tried to equal that 15. I wanted to make it very painless for the client because I wanted them. If I came in at 25,000, even if that was the right number, I knew it would scare them away. So I tried to keep the delta within a few percentage points, which was actually very doable. Not scare them away, bring them on board, and then get them into our system, kind of like with Troop here, right? And you get that TAM on them monthly, you get that VCIO on them, and you can get their spend where it needs to be, um, which hasn't been a crazy change for us, but get that spend where it needs to be. And we've moved them all up into the right spot. But this other MSP was undercharging a little, like it happens. But if you come in and go 25 grand, you know what they're going to say? I'll go shop.
Sure.
Then you lose the deal, right? So we didn't want that. So we had to be very competitive on that side as well, and it worked out for us. Um, but I will tell you, there's sometimes just different habits. I'm not going to call them bad, but they had different ways of communicating. They had different ways of, even their clients had different ways of opening a ticket, different ways of complaining about something or asking for help or whatever. And so a lot of training, a lot of moving parts. Um, But again, the way we treated them was you are a brand new client to us, and we're going to put you through our onboarding process. And when you come out the other end, you'll be a Leaf Tech client. Um, and it was well received. Again, very little loss along the way. I have a client, as an example, I won't name names, but I've got a client that did a hundreds of millions of dollar deal. And we've supported them for a long time. And 40% of their book left after the transition. So, and they said that was expected. I lost 5% maybe throughout the whole process, right? Like, um, that's another thing. You got to find a way to keep these people happy and know and plan for those kind of things. So they're in wealth management and they went from 15 to 9 billion under assets after. So they lost 6 billion. That's 40% of their book. Like it's a big deal, but they were like totally expected. Okay, I'm glad you knew that. That was baked into the pricing. I don't think this would have worked effectively if I had lost 40% of the book. I'd be looking for I'd be talking to you, Mike, and going, how much money you got? Because I need some help. So uh, so that was something to consider as well. Like by signing these people up, we essentially guaranteed that they were coming over, and we hit the target 95% of the time.
Fantastic. So who should be talking to you? You have a range. Obviously, you probably have kind of fine-tuned that, I would think. You know now what you don't want and what you do want. What area, like how far away from you physically can they be? Tell me who's a good prospect for you.
That's a really good question. I hadn't thought much about it. I personally, I'd like if I'm going to buy another MSP and it's not going to be based in the Denver metro region, I would want it to be probably within a day's drive of me at this point. I still want to have that touch. I know you can get on an airplane, but if I can drive somewhere in 8 hours, it's probably a 2 hour flight, right? Like, something like that. And so I would say I want someone geographically still very close because I want to have enough tentacles into that division, if you will, that location, to make sure they're adopting our culture, they're adopting our technology, they're adopting our ways, and they're getting the Leaf Tech education and culture, and those things are very important to us here. Um, so I would say I also enjoyed kind of the experience of the smaller MSP, right? I find it easier to work with one owner, a few people, and they're looking for a good place to land their employees or maybe themselves for the rest of their careers. John's in his 40s. David, who was my fourth acquisition, is in his 60s. They were in different places. John wants to keep working. David wanted to exit. I'm okay with either. As long as I have some good leadership within that office, they're within, like I said, a day's drive. I think that's important. And again, if you're a $500,000 to $1 million MSP and you just can't get to the next level, that would be a conversation I'd be willing to have with you because I think we can help you grow. We have more opportunity. The number of people that have moved seats in my company in the last 4 years is unbelievable. My EA became a project manager who now is the head of operations. Like the opportunity to grow your career, move into a different seat, still have a say. We're 40 people. When someone speaks up in one of my culture meetings, my Friday morning culture meetings, we listen. You're 2.5% of the employee base here. You're not just a number, you're significant, right? You're still an important, significant person within the organization. If you go to Comcast and stood up in that meeting, you might get heard, but what's actually going to happen with that information, right? Like, where's it really going to go? Multi-billion, international conglomerate. It probably dies on the vine somewhere. I have people sit on my, my couch. I have a couch in my office. They come sit here and they tell me something, and 3 days later, we're making it happen. And that's because we're small and we're dynamic and we listen. And so I think that's it. Like, I would be looking for anybody that's, 2 or 3 people up to 10 that are 500,000 to 1 million just haven't figured it out. And we can come in and sit down and put a plan together and give you career opportunities, learning opportunities, growth opportunities, and give you the back end systems that I took many, many years to build. And my team, it's all my team, not me. I didn't build anything really. They built all those systems, and we can give you that. I'm actually in discussions right now with a cabling vendor here in town that's 4 or 5 people, and he just doesn't know how to admin anything, but he's the best darn cabler and his team are the best at it. but he doesn't know how to send an invoice. He can't tell me who it's for. When he sends me an estimate, I don't even know. I get $1,000. I'm like, what the hell is this thing? I don't even know what I'm looking at. I have to call him every time. He doesn't have benefits for his employees. They're employees with no real benefits. These are all the things we can offer, and we can allow you to go do what you do best and grow your piece of the Leaf Tech pie, and we can support you, and bring you all kinds of options and technology and people and resources, and so that's what I'm excited about.
Well, appreciate you being here and sharing all this. Let everybody know how they can get in touch with you if they're looking to take it to a conversation.
Yeah, sure. So our website is leaftechit.com, leaftechit.com. If you want to call me, I'll give you my direct. It's 720-772-3002. Call me anytime. And my email is cmacary@leaftechit.com. And I would love to hear from anybody that's interested in having a conversation, even if it's just to help educate you on what you're looking to do, and maybe do your own acquisition. I'm happy to share. And that's something I've learned, sitting in the chair I sit in. I belong to some CEO groups. People in leadership positions want to help other people. I want to help other people. So if you just have a question, whatever it is, I'm here to help you. I'm not here to try to buy your business if you don't want to sell it. But if there's some advice you need, or you need a sounding board, I'm happy to provide whatever advice or wisdom. Because I've learned quite a few things in this process. So I'm happy to help.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Chris, for being here. For everyone watching, we thank you, and tune in every Monday on the Kaseya YouTube channel for another episode of M&A Unpacked. And by the way, if you're not yet a member of the M&A Concierge platform for MSPs, make sure to apply today. It's an amazing platform, 100% free for both buyers and sellers. See you next time, everyone.